Now we're going to focus on the area of a circle, which is chapter section 9.4. We're going to use what we've already used in the past dealing with the circumference of a circle to help us figure out and understand the area of a circle and the formula for the area of a circle. So the basic idea of an area of a circle is just like our polygons. It's base times height. But it's going to be a little more complicated. We can't just do a normal base times height because we don't have two sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the circumference and multiply that by half. Then we're going to take that answer and multiply it by the radius of the circle. And remember, the radius of the circle will be a number given to us. So as you can see in the illustration, we're basically taking the circle, dividing it into triangles or little pieces of the pie, slices of pie, and we're arranging it in a way in which we can actually compare and identify the radius times half of the circumference. And so that's very similar to a base times height of a rectangle. But the problem here is if we multiply the circumference by half, remember the circumference is 2 times pi times radius. What's going to happen is the 2 and the half will cancel out. If they cancel out, we are just left with pi times radius in the parentheses times radius. Well, if we're left with pi times radius, that basically is pi radius squared, because a number multiplying by the same number, like 4 times 4 is 16, I can just do 4 squared. So the overall basic equation of the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. Now remember, pi is 3.14 when it's simplified. It does go on forever. But 3.14 is also written in a fraction, and that can be written by 22 over 7. So remember, what the radius is, that's half of the diameter, and pi is 3.14, or can also be written in a fraction form of 22 over 7. So the basic formula for the area of a circle is going to be pi times radius squared. Now let's go ahead and do a practice problem. We want to find the area of a circular flower bed whose radius is 5 feet. So I do have to memorize this equation. So area equals pi times radius squared. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 5 into the equation. So I'm going to have pi times 5 squared. Now because of the order of operations, I'm going to do the 5 squared first. That's going to be 25. So it's going to be 5 squared, so 25 times pi, so 25 times 3.14, and that's going to give us 78.5 feet squared. Please make sure you show your work. If you don't show your work on the fit bin, you're going to have to do it all over again. I'm just going to return it. You're going to have to do it again. Please show your work. Get in the habit of showing your work. Get the habit of working out the multiplication problems. Anything that is going to help you practice and do it again and again. Same thing with the textbook work. If you don't show your work, I can't give you any credit. You're going to have to do it again. I'll just have to give it back to you. Okay, let's focus on practice number 2. Here we have a diameter of 28 centimeters. And they want you to use the fraction for pi. Okay, so the equation's the same. It's area equals pi times radius squared. So the problem I have here is I'm given the diameter. Well, that's okay. That's easy because we know the diameter is 2 times the length of the radius. So all I have to do is divide the diameter by 2. If I divide 28 by 2, so 2 into 28, that gives me 14 centimeters. Okay, so now I have 14 centimeters. But according to the equation or the formula, I have to take 14 and square that. Now if I square 14, so 14 times 14, that's going to give me 196. Now I multiply 196 by 3.14. But in this case, I'm not doing that. I'm multiplying 196 by 22 over 7. So when I go ahead and put 22 over 7 times 196, I can turn 196 into a fraction, right? I can turn it into 196 over 1. Well, I can cross multiply that, right? Does 7 go into 196? Yes, it does. 28 times. So let's see what we have so far. Okay, I have 28. I divide that by 2, and that's 14. I square 14, and I get 196. 7 goes into 196 28 times. Then I take the 22 times the 28, and that gives me 616 centimeters squared. So watch this part of the video again. A lot of it's just memorization and figuring out the formula. Now this last practice problem is a little more difficult. What we're going to do is we're actually going to have to find the circumference, and we're given the area. Usually we're given the radius and we have to find the area. But in this case, we're going to work our way backwards. So let's write out the equation. A equals pi times radius squared. The area is 36 pi, and that's going to be 36 pi equals pi radius squared. Now, what's 36 pi? I can multiply that, but I actually don't have to. I can actually divide pi radius squared by pi. If I divide pi radius squared by pi, I have to also divide it on the other side, right? Well, if I do that, the pi's cancel out. Then I'm just left with 36 equals radius squared. Well, if I go ahead and do a square root to get that radius by itself, square root of 36 is 6. So my answer here, okay, for the radius is 6 meters. So that just gave me the radius. Now I have to go back and remember what is the equation for circumference. It's 2 pi, okay, times radius, or pi times the diameter. So I go ahead and plug in 2 times the 6 times pi, and that gives me 12 pi, or I can multiply 12 times 3.14, and that would give me 37.68 meters. Okay, so go ahead, go back through, watch these practice problems, look over it, work it through. But remember, it is more thinking outside the box, trying to problem solve, especially for practice number 2 and 3. For practice 1, it's just simply memorizing the equation and plugging in the numbers.